Great Nigerians and our wonderful viewers and fans of the living television, happy new month. This is the first day of September 2023 and I'm happy you are there. Today is another Friday and another day for your favorite program, Issues of the Moment. In today's Issues of the Moment, we'll be looking at the military coup in Africa, Cameroun, Rwanda retired soldiers, Cameroun, Rwanda retired soldiers. Abia government loses 194 million naira to ghost workers and fake security personnel. Senator Inyabaribe vows to unseat Hope Uzodinma, the governor of Imo State. These and many will be coming your way. As usual today, we have an analyst in the house who is going to do justice to most of these topics. And today I have with me in the studio Comrade Nnamdi Elekwachi. Comrade Nnamdi Elekwachi is a historian, not just a historian, he's also a public and a political affairs analyst. He's also a tele-evangelist. He's in the studio today with me. Comrade, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. This great show. Happy New Month and good day, viewers.
All right. I'm sure, really very sorry for what happened. We had a little break in transmission. I'm sure you understand that we are in Nigeria, we are in Africa. We are not, it works the way it's planned. So we're really very sorry about that. We're starting all over again. All right. Comrade, you're aware we talked about this military takeover in Gabon. We talked about it, I think, earlier this week, around Tuesday or thereabout. And today, the African Union Peace and Security Council on Thursday suspended Gabon following the Wednesday overthrow of the President Odingba Ali Bongo by soldiers led by the head of the Republican Guards, Bryce Ngwema. And then that's exactly. Now, before talking about this, we saw what happened between the ECOWAS, still lingering though, ECOWAS and Niger Republic.
Yes.
And now, without considering the fate of the people, and then what is the fate of the people as it concerns, Gabon and the military takeover? Let's start from there.
Okay, I think it is unfortunate that in Africa we have a lot of institutional challenges, and that the much touted democratic reforms and democratic institutions have not actually yielded any positive, have not actually yielded much positive outcomes or met the expectations of the people themselves. What happened in Gabon, in a way or more, also reflects or captures what actually happened in Niger and all over, even in Mali, even in Burkina Faso, everywhere. That in the wake of the coup, the populace took to the street to commend, to cheer for, and to celebrate the junta. And then you begin to ask the question, what happens to that saying that the worst civilian rule is always better than the best military rule? Now, in Gabon, a lot of things happened, and I think the problem we have with some of these regional institutions, especially AU, ECOWAS, ECAS, there is ECAS, Economic Community of Central African States. You also have SADC, South African Development Community. You also have AMU for North African countries. That's Arab Maghreb Union. The problem these bodies have is that they have charters, they have protocols, they also have declarations where they say they want member states to commit to democratic values and deepen democracy. But unfortunately, there are no mechanisms, there are no ways of checking whether member states are following the rules. You understand? And that is why you see, eventually in some of these countries, you do not have freedom of the press. You do not have freedom freedom to self-expression. You do not even have independent judiciary. You do not even have, in fact, everything is all about the leaders, and you even have what we call life presidents. You understand? Or presidents for life. And this is also one of the things I think AU and then other regional bodies should be looking at. But unfortunately, in Gabon, Ali Bongo whose father ruled for 42 years,
42,
from 1967 to 2009 when he died. Ali Bongo assumed
he took
over, and that is what the other day I did call it primogeniture, political dynasty. His son took over, ruled for 7 years, was re-elected for another term, at the expiration of which he sought amendment to the constitution. He was able to get the parliament, you understand, to alter the constitution.
But don't you think it is the problem of the parliament of Gabon, because Obasanjo tried that and it never worked. Obasanjo tried the third tenor issue, but it never worked.
Yes, I think yes, it is to be seen in the parliament too. And even if you talk about it, yes, it has happened before. Even in Nigeria, even before Obasanjo, I think there was also the case of Jonathan, when he was, in fact, when he had actually done that term for Yar'Adua, and then people were saying he has no constitutional basis to go back for a second term. They were talking about amending the constitution to allow him to rule for 6-year period, non-renewable. You understand? Non-renewable term of 6-year period. Then that also did not actually materialize. So it points to something that these persons want to cling on to political power. They want to remain there, sit tight presidents in Africa, and that is why you have in Equatorial Guinea, you have a man like Oban Mbasogo, who had been there since 1979, for Biya since 1982 in Cameroon. Many of them, just name them. So I think yes, we must blame the parliament, but then it still speaks to the thing I was talking about: weak institutions. That it begins and ends with the president, with this leader. So you can imagine a situation where Ali Bongo, when we went to election, here he was actually considered to be unpopular. In the after of election, the electoral body declared him the winner. Then, following uproars,
the military elections, that election.
Yes, following uproars, he did something. He shut down the internet space and suppressed the media. He didn't stop there. He sent foreign observations. He sent them back. Now, when he got this, never that he actually had the civic space, the military took advantage and then forced him out.
All right, before we continue, let's look at that military takeover and one of the reasons, for takeover. Let's have that video clip. Can we have the video clip, please? The video clip of the military takeover. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, so I think having done that, the military took over. After the military took over, now we are hearing from AU. Yes, the AU has a charter known as African Charter on Democracy, Elections, and Governance. That's the charter, Africa on Democracy, Elections, and Governance. It was adopted in the year 2007. And that charter, if you look at the charter, tries to affect the need to commit to democratic values, to enhance and ensure robust democratic reforms, to build the institutions of democracy among member states through what? Through elections. Now, the question now becomes, what did the AU do when they had the kind of election we had in Gabon? What did the AU say? What did the AU do? So that is why I say that the AU should look at its framework, its institution, to deepen democracy. Yes, it is good to also establish the fact that military coups are unconstitutional. They represent unconstitutional change of government. And then again, AU also has its declaration. You understand? Member states understand the implication of what? Subverting democracy. We do not only mete out consequences to unpopular regimes like a junta, you should also do it to a civilian, in fact, to a failed democracy. When democracy fails, you also have to affirm that the practices and the leading or following the election do not reflect the AU goals. You understand? Until the AU come to the position of being that bold to say your institutions do not reflect our goals, our milieu, our ethoses. It's not just enough to begin to, yes, they have done it to Niger, they've done to Mali, they keep suspending through this Peace and Security Council, which I know was actually created by a constitutive law. The constitutive law of the AU itself created this Peace and Security Council. But I think they should actually go one better. You understand? Mapping out deficiencies, mapping out challenges, mapping out gaps, amplifying these problems, and now making member states to commit to them. And then also, they should have a way the internal democracy through parameters and indices they can use. You should be asking the question, like I did ask before, is the press understand? The opposition so these are the questions we should ask, and that's what I think A should be doing. And that's why you see that now, giving free of the court classes, military rule or military junta has become appealing, attractive, and even attraction to the people that they will go out to the street to jubilate, to welcome them, to even carry them shoulder high. So to me, it shows something institutional weakness which AU must address.
All right, let's go. We will be back shortly. Moving forward, I'm glad you are still there watching your favorite station, the Living Television. We're still on the Coups in Africa. Right now, from what Comrade said, considering what has happened, let us have the video clip of this military takeover and some of their reasons for taking over, in as much as we are not justifying any reason for any military takeover. Once it is unconstitutional, it remains unconstitutional. But it is also important to look at some of the facts. Let's have the video clip, please.
Gouvernance irresponsable.
After noting an irresponsible, unpredictable governance which results in a continuous deterioration of social cohesion that risks leading the country to chaos, today, the 30th of August 2023, in the name of the Gabonese people, we, the Committee of the Transition and the Restoration of Institutions, have decided to defend the peace, putting an end to the regime in place. To this end, the general elections of August 26, 2023, as well as the results, are cancelled. The borders of the country are closed until further notice. All the institutions of the Republic are dissolved. The government, the Senate, the National Assembly, the Constitutional Court. We call on the population for calm and serenity, and we affirm our attachment to the respect of Gabon's commitments to the international community.
Ainsi que les résultats tronqués sont annulés.
I'm Ali Bongo Ondimba, President of Gabon, and I'm to send a message to all the friends that we have all over the world to tell them to make noise, for the people here have arrested me and my family.
On prépare la totalité des commandants en chef.
All right, viewers, I'm sure you watched what happened. That is the military junta in Gabon announcing why they took over the government, in as much as they are not justified, no matter the reason. But it's also good to look at some of the facts. They want to strengthen the institutions in that place and so on. And also we know too well that it's like a dynasty. The father had been there close to 43 years.
For 42 years.
42 years. And himself had been there
for 14.
For about
14 years.
For 14 years. And that is about 50-something years.
53 years.
53 years. A particular family,
yes.
You know, in a country of not just about 2 or 3, 4, 5 families. And then it talks about something just like we talked about it. And so, moving forward, then what is your take on this? And even with the military junta's excuse for the overthrow?
I think no excuse can be enough. You understand? No excuse can be enough. The military guys are never experts in nation building. You understand? They do not have the mandate of people. Although they have the chair of the people, but that does not mean mandates, because they were not produced through electoral process.
That's true.
You understand? And that is why it is unconstitutional. Now, that is why they have also suspended the constitution and now vowed to carry out reforms, laudable reforms that will bring the country back to trajectory, or that will restore, or that will put the country. Because I cannot even say bring the country back, as if the country had been in a particular path towards attainment of lofty achievement. Now they are trying to usher the country into a new dawn. But you must also know that militaries are not builders. And I'll give you an example. In Chad, when Idriss Déby died in 2021, it was a civilian government, but the son then was military. So the military took over, citing political stability. They need to make sure that they deepen and enhance political stability. The constitution said that in the likelihood that the president was impeached or by natural means died or became incapacitated, the speaker of the parliament should take over. But they suspended the constitution and allowed Mahamat Idriss Déby, that's the son of Idriss Déby, to be there. Do you know that they were given 1 year and 6 month period to carry out the transition from April 2021. It was supposed to end around October or September or yes, or even August 2022. But they are still there till today. You understand? So the question is not just about them being there. It's about whether they have any guideline. Do they have any policy? Do they have any economic framework? Do they have ideology?
How do you compare this with what is happening also in Niger? They said they are working on the constitution and they need 3 years.
Yes, you cannot work. You see, the reason why we are complaining in Nigeria is because the constitution we have was also given to us by the military. The military cannot make constitution. Let's make it clear. Why I understand why the people are happy, because we are talking about failed democracies. And we must also pronounce it, even if AU doesn't want to pronounce it, even if ECOWAS doesn't want to pronounce it, even if ECAS doesn't want to pronounce it. We must pronounce it a failure, that these democracies failed largely to meet the expectation of it. You cannot continue having a government where every time the election comes close, you amend the constitution to be there. Not only in Gabon, there is also family dynasty. In Togo, Eyadema, 1963, the French, the same French now who are now condemning coup, sponsored the coup against President Xavier Olympius. He was assassinated. Eyadema became president. Eyadema took over. Being a military man, he took over. Today the son is there. You understand? Even the same French have not spoken vocally against the government of Côte d'Ivoire, led by Alassane Ouattara, who is also enjoying a third term by virtue of amending the constitution, getting the parliament to amend the constitution. So these are the things they should be looking at. And that's why I say the AU is always quick to condemn military junta. Yes, we say military junta is a notion of illegality. It should not stand. It should not be upheld. It should not be entertained. But what is the AU doing to make sure that in line with its framework? I mentioned here that the charter of the AU is named African Charter on Democracy, Elections and Governance. So what is the AU saying about democracy? What is the AU saying about elections? Because the AU monitors and observes elections in member country, in member states. But what has this regional body done? You understand? To make sure that member states, beyond what is written in those instruments, protocols, optional protocols, charters, they commit to democracy in practice.
Okay, let us look at the reaction of the people of Gabon, how they look at the overthrow, by the military juntas. Let us look at that and see what happens, and also see what is the AU also saying about the concerns of the people who are directly involved. Can we have that?
La totalité des commandants en chef. Jusqu'à nouvel ordre.
Look at that level of jubilation.
Yes.
What do you think it amounts to?
Yes, I think it's a serious. In fact, the people actually, we must say it the way it is, they have actually placed, but they have served them, they have actually served them, what they call it, they have actually served them that very notice. It's a quick notice, unfortunately, but they have actually tried to explain to us here through this exhibition, happiness, carrying the military people shoulder high. They are trying to show you that vote of no confidence had been passed on the civilians. But it's unfortunate, like I said here.
Do you also think that this amounts to not happy with the democratic order?
That is they are not happy with the democratic order. And then, yes, the democracy should bring about aspiration, happiness, and fulfillment, and then achievement of the goods of the people. If those things are not there, then it is not democracy. And this is what AU should be looking. Now, this is happening. The reason why AU is acting is because of its charter, because of its instrument. But that instrument did not only say target military juntas. That instrument did not only say target or condemn in its entirety unconstitutional changes of government. It also talks about how to entrench, how to deepen, how to consolidate democracy, how to also enhance robust democratic reforms among member states, and that is what AU is not doing. And you can see that even with the ban, the people are not happy. They are not really interested in the AU again, because organizations like the AU and the rest of them have not been able, you understand, to liberate these people, especially from the stranglehold of former colonial masters. It will impress you to know that the same East and West Africa, the same West and Central Africa, we have about 14 countries whose foreign reserves are still tied to the French reserve, and then against the measured against the EU. So what will ECOWAS, what will ECAS, what will the AU do to make sure that these nations have economic liberation? Because the goal of AU and ECOWAS is to enhance not only political integration but economic integration, economic collaboration, and mutual assistance.
Okay, well, shortly before we leave that and go over to something else. Now, what do you think ECOWAS, both ECOWAS, AU, what are they doing to ensure that there is, like you rightly mentioned, robust democratical setting in these countries? Take for instance what happened in Nigeria. People are still lamenting, yes, and so on. What are they doing? Just like we mentioned the other day, as we speak now, ECOWAS has not been able to come up with the reports of the just concluded presidential election in Nigeria. Yes. And then what are they doing to ensure? Is it only to come up when the military?
Yes, and that is why I said we don't see them to be doing much. And for now, what we can say they are doing is just issuing condemnation and suspension against the junta. It is fine to suspend the junta. The junta, like I have said before, is unconstitutional, it's illegal. But that is also a statement, a bold statement from the people that they have served vote of no confidence on you as ECOWAS or whatever, for even accepting, without even thinking, taking recourse to your laws. What ECOWAS and AU and other bodies are doing, to me, is treating the symptoms and not the cause. Because you are too quick to suspend. But I think if suspension had happened, if ECOWAS had for once, or AU had been bold enough to suspend a democratic member state for not following or complying with it, because it is obvious Ali Bongo violated all laws, all tenets of democracy. He guarded the press, he suppressed them, he intimidated the opposition. In fact, for example, the one that happened in Zimbabwe, where Menagagwa is there. Menagagwa, in fact, brought about, in fact, he used kinetic force to intimidate, to suppress voters, even in capital Harare. You understand? What did ECOWAS, what did SADC do? The South African Development Community, and then the AU. So what are they saying? But if a military coup happens now, they will be too quick to suspend. It doesn't, and then the West will also be somewhere cheering. But the West does not do much to make sure that this does not happen. And I'll tell you something, you see, in America, as a president, Trump put a phone call across to the governor of Georgia, urging him to truncate the democratic process, to subvert democracy, to subvert the will of the people. Trump also incited the masses to trunk the Congress, understand, the Capitol. Today, Trump is facing trial. He may even, he has been arraigned. I'm talking about the former president.
But we fully experienced that even in Nigeria here.
I'm coming.
And they just concluded the election.
Yes, now see where I'm even coming to. You see how institutions work in America, that a former president could be arraigned, just like we are saying, why are they not asking Buhari questions for diverting money for millions? We are even talking about whether from the Emefiele or the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs or the Central Bank or anywhere. Why is nobody talking? Now, they had arraigned former President Trump. But if America has that kind of institution, if Britain has an institution where the Prime Minister could resign for violating COVID laws, why wouldn't they wish the same for Nigeria and then Africa by extension? So the West must also live up to its own dealings. Well, you cannot be a preacher of democracy and not be the doer. You must be both, and that is what they must also serve us. You must set the template. When you tell Africa to democratize or to evolve strong institutions. You must also make sure that the things that obtain in your system obtain in Africa. You not to take sides or to support one unpopular regime. Because as I'm talking to you, Alassane Ouattara, the man in charge in Côte d'Ivoire, is an ally of France. You understand? Chad, France is not talking about Chad, where the military was supposed to hand over power since last year. Then then even in Burkina Faso are money, but everybody is more interested in Niger and Gabon. So it is a conversation that we must have.
Okay, for fear of a military coup, Rwanda and Cameroon hurriedly retired 1,029 senior officers, including 4-star generals in Rwanda and also 3-star generals and so on. And then they retired them. And then even in Cameroon President Paul Biya has also reshuffled the military with new appointments. What do you think is the fear?
Yes, it is the fear of the unknown, or the fear of the known now, because it is known. If you have listened to Bola Ahmed Tinubu's statements yesterday, you understand that this man actually understood the dynamics of what is playing out. You understand? He now urged Abubakar Said III to go back to Niger and talk peace and make sure that all avenues of peace are actually exhausted. Now, African leaders are beginning to understand, and that's why they are beginning to sitting up, not even to become better leaders, but to make sure they cling on to power, or they tighten up, you understand, to remain in power. What they have done now is not even new. You may imagine someone like Paul Kagame. I do tell people, yes, Paul Kagame may have actually lived up to expectation in terms of delivering the goods. But when you talk about institutions working, people are being suppressed in Rwanda. Opposition doesn't talk and all that. So it becomes a very huge problem. And I will say this, you see, what is happening in Cameroon is because Paul Biya has been there since when? 1982. Rwanda, he has been, the two Pauls, Paul Biya and Paul Kagame. The two Pauls have been there, and they had, to me, if you ask me, they had actually exhausted their time, and the people are even tired. And that is why, if you know where democracy works, the military are supposed to be the most patriotic element in the country, because their duty is to defend the country from external aggression, not to bring about internal problems. Yeah, you understand? So that is why because in Africa now, I'll tell you this, when Buhari became president, he did a similar thing. His own was even tending towards the ethnic line. He sacked senior officials coming from the south and got to a particular course. You understand? NDA course. You understand? He got to a particular course where he now picked some persons from his part of the country. And even when they overstayed and then it was time to retire, people like the former chief of army staff, you understand, did not retire. He allowed them to overstay when they were even more than 65 years, when they had even stayed more than 35 years in service. Now, Bola Ahmed Tinubu is doing the same time. When he assumed office, he reshuffled the military, the top brass of military. That we are talking about, from class 37, that was supposed to be the senior, they now went down as class 39. Class 39. Now, the main is that in Africa, what happens here is that the leaders try to populate the military with their ethnic groups, you understand? With people from their ethnic group or ethnic members, to safeguard them, to secure them, to make sure that yes, there is no possibility of a military coup. If you had followed what happened in Niger, you would have known that it was easy for coup to happen because Bazoum had not put his own people there. Idriss, who led before him, was actually the person who constituted the presidential guards. And when he left, they were about 2,000. Bazoum was afraid of them. He was cutting their number. He cut them up to down to 700, and then even sacked some top military guys. Yes, before you know it, the coup happened.
Okay,
but we must also understand that even sacking the top brass will not even stop the coup from happening, because the people who actually carry out the coup are usually colonels. They are usually the younger ones. Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was coming to, because looking at the 4-star general who is almost at the exit door.
Yes.
And then what about these younger ones? You know, who should be even power crazy and power drunk?
Yeah.
And then, but I don't think they are thinking towards that line. Okay, Having
it
said
is
that,
just to be in command, to make sure that their own person is in command, issuing command. You understand?
All right, away from that, Senator Engineer Baribe has vowed to sack Hope Uzodinma, the governor of Imo State, and he said that the APC, that they are going to enthrone APGA-led government in Imo State to ensure effective security, that the level of insecurity in Imo State is so alarming. He said Hope Uzodinma is overdue to leave the government house. Do you think he has such powers?
One, he's not from Imo State. I don't know his political clout. Or his political.
So he's a member of APGA now?
He's a member of the APGA, yes. And then
the high-ranking officer.
The high-ranking officer, a senator. In fact, not just a senator. I would say one of the most long-serving senators. One of the most long-serving senators. He is one of them. But you must also understand that Imo is different from Abia. He is only beholden to his constituency, to his natural zone, not to him. But then it's politics. I understand. Yes, he was right. You had said that insecurity is everywhere in Imo State, and it is what some of us, if not all of us, regret. That Hope Uzodinma, the way he had managed the security landscape of Imo State, is not satisfactory. Even though I must give credit to him in some aspects, he's trying to fix infrastructure, but that does not only address the problem. You cannot talk about infrastructure where there is no peace. Even if you want, you can build roads that can connect from here to heaven. But if people do not feel free to come out and perform their economic activities and businesses and transactions, it makes no sense at the end of the day. We've had to have a situation where the Ebubago became a state within a state in Imo State. Don't forget the killings and the executions in Awam Mama and the rest of them. We've had a situation where, horribly, life actually went back to the Habitian stage, where life was brutish, short, and nasty. Understand? But the whole reason we should be asking is, what choices are there for the Igbo people? Because I know, apart from APGA, they also have other political parties.
The Labour Party,
yes. And then don't also forget that Richard Okorocha and Ararume, from what we are hearing, from the news we are hearing, from the fillers, they are coming together to merge or join forces to fight against Uzodinma. But then, Uzodinma had also had his ways. Only God knows how. The local government, all the local government, the entire 27 local government are controlled by his political party, the APC. I think even the House of Assembly too, in the last election, and then even the National Assembly, he got a fair share. So it speaks to something. Yes, there are challenges, and we can only see how it pan out. But for now, we are waiting to see whether the man who was declared by the Supreme Court to have won the election, having placed fourth, whether he will actually outflank, outmaneuver his political adversaries.
Yes, we talked about the search in the southeast, but I think I was a witness yesterday, because yesterday I traveled to work on a public transport.
Yes.
I'm sure I called you from there.
Yes,
and
yes.
At the point, about that airport junction, you must come down from the vehicle, no matter who you are, except those on private, whether luxurious or whatever, you must come down and walk through. It's not as if the soldiers will be searching to know whether you have arms or not, but it's just a routine. And is it supposed to be that way? And if you are traveling from Abuja to Kaduna and those northern areas, you don't see such things.
Yes, I think that is to tell you that the southeast is under siege. Many times we've had IGs of police, inspectors general, come out to say, let the police officials go back to the stations. We have also had the chief of army staff and then the military authorities release statements, you understand, to that effect too. But you don't see them go back to either the stations or to the barracks. They are always there, and they are not even there in most cases. Yes, nobody can actually travel without having their presence, especially in this era where the security landscape of the country or the security fabric has been ruined by both state actors and non-state actors. But you don't even pray to travel without seeing the security agencies. But in most cases, what do they even do there? They are there to collect money from motorists and road users, and they even use civilians. And I mentioned the spots where this happened. Now, the thing you're talking about is not only that particular spot. At a point, it was happening along Arondizong. At a point, it was also happening in Ebusigo, LGA, in Anambra State. And I'm saying citizens will come down from their vehicles, then surrender themselves. And that is in peacetime. Surrender themselves and then pass through checkpoint. It's not one, it's not two, it's not three in a
But then,
if you are coming back from Enugu to Aba here, you may encounter not less than 40 military checkpoints. I'm not talking about the police checkpoints. You may encounter not less than 40. In fact, if you are to combinately add all of them, you'll be counting about 50 checkpoints, both the police and the army and the rest of them. But yet that has not secured the region. It has not been able to, because at a point a bishop was kidnapped here who told us that the kidnappers or his abductors were speaking Fulani language. So what actually happened? Nothing. And then if you go to the north, it may interest you to know, if you go to the north, where you have banditry, where you have terrorism, where you have jihadism or Islamist militant attacks, you will see that the security system is not, the security operation is not even operationalized the same way it is operationalized here. And for one, I had happened to go from Abuja to Kaduna to NBA for a particular assignment. One day, my brother was actually trying to enroll. Then I went there. Something happened. You see, we did not get stopped. I'm talking about the axis of evil. If you had known Abuja Kaduna throughout 2020, 2021, kidnappings for ransom happened there. People were abducted. You understand? I'm talking about the axis where you had the famous or the infamous train bomb blast. But there was ever a point we were told to come down from the vehicle, or even surrender ourselves and then pass through the checking point. So it is something the legislative caucus of the southeast, the southeast, they must actually make a case for at the National Assembly level. Then we should also talk about it. The governors should also talk about it, because it is becoming unbearable. And that is why, to an extent, I'm not saying it, yes, and I have said here, we love the military presence, especially if it is minimal or proportional. But it is not proportional, it is more than proportional, it is more than necessary. We don't need such here. And that is why, in most cases, you see that the military have even become soft targets. They've become victims of soft targets for unknown gunmen and what have you. These miscreants operating in the east. You understand? So it's unfortunate.
All right. Finally, before we take the last, Senator Baribe also said that what happened to Okezie Bazo will happen to Hope Ozadema. Well, I don't think that one should come in, because Okezie Bazo served out. Served out is 8 years.
Yes.
So, but using it to compare to what will happen to
Hope. Okezie Bazo was term limited in 2023. He was already term limited, and there was nothing anybody could do anywhere to continue his tenure. He was spent. He was term limited.
Yes.
You understand? So he couldn't have actually gone beyond the 8-year period allocated by the Constitution. But he was actually going for the Senate. If he had categorically specified that he lost the Senate, but then he had not been to the Senate before, like Oguz Odema, who had been the governor and is seeking re-election. But something must be established that, as we speak today, there is a challenge. Let me also say it. Hope Ozadema is facing a popularity test. He may be providing an infrastructure, because I've seen few roads he has done. But due to his politics, especially when it comes to Igbo matters, he is perceived as someone who is anti-Igbo and then pro-federal government led by APC. You understand? Yeah. Especially the management of the issues about IPOB, secession, and the rest of them. You understand? We are not saying that Nigeria should divide, or that people should secede or separate from the country. We are saying that every ethnic group in this country, every geopolitical zone has an interest. So that interest must be furthered by those elected to govern there. But unfortunately, you see that Hope Ozadema is perceived to be going against the Igbo agenda, and that is the reason. He himself has not come out to explain fully that yes, he is for Igbo. He may be for the Igbo, but it depends on how he articulates it. Now, that's again, I think the INEC itself must be willing to allow the people's will to reflect and not to be subverted again, like we've been seeing. Because I keep saying it, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was among the candidates tipped as favorites during the 2023 election. But the outcome of election placed serious burden on us, on INEC, that we are seeing a lot of things, even the independent investigation carried out by media houses like the Premium Newspaper and then BBC, investigative work, seem to be saying that in Rivers State, Bola Ahmed Tinubu may not have won as declared by INEC. You understand? Now, all things being equal, we are having the president, the most unpopular president. You understand? Not that he couldn't have won election, but that he did not win up to 10% of the registered voters, and on head of feet, and on head of thing. And we're also talking about the one that is still, okay, it's still a sub judice pending before the court, whether FCT should be seen as a state or a co-equal creation with the 36 federating units, or it should be seen as not being a state. That is left for the court to decide. But what I'm saying is that we are having a system where popularity test is facing virtually every person standing in election, and INEC must live up to expectation.
All right, before we go, let us look at this. The committee set up by the Abia State government, led by Alex Oti government,
yes,
and the Personnel Audit Committee indicated that the state lost about 194 million naira yearly to fake and ghost security personnel in the state. The committee audited operations of 2 state security outfits, Abia State Vigilante Services, that is known as then Bakassi, and changed to Abia Vigilante, and then Homeland Security Watch. And now, if, the committee did not come out open to tell us that the entire security outfit, as formed by the Homeland, is formed by the immediate past administration of Okeze Ibanza.
Yes.
And then Bakassi had always been there.
Yes.
But I know recently the state adopted them. I think that was...
Yes, the state created a law, passed a law that made them security providers.
Now, for this committee to come up to say that they are fake, and also 194 million naira, annually, withdrawn. I don't understand.
Yes, to me, I do not know if the state had said, not the vigilante, or sorry, if the committee, or if the auditors,
the committee,
yes, it was audited,
committee,
yes, audit committee. If the committee had actually served us or provided us the list of those affected by this, I would have been happier. Say, yes, this is the number of persons they claim to be in service, and this is how they paid them, and this is the record we are able to recover, and this is what we are seeing, and here are the gaps. But I want to say this, you see, yes, Governor Okeze Bazon flagged off a ministry I lauded so much, Homeland Service. I say the boundaries, not border this time. Mind you, states have boundaries. The nation has borders. Yes, the boundaries. Abia has boundary with Abia has boundary with Bible. Abia has boundary with Rivers. Abia has boundary with Anambra. Abia has boundary with Imo. Abia has boundary, a lot of boundaries. Yes, those boundaries need to be manned. And at some point, that ministry was living up to expectation. I remember when they intercepted people said to be coming from the north during the pandemic. I remember it was that ministry. But after that, the ministry, nothing was said about the ministry again. So, and the ministry also featured in the second tenure of Governor Okeze Ibanza, was motivated to the ministry. And I know, I tried to reach out to someone who was close to the ministry. He said the people recruited had not been receiving salaries and that they were not happy. I'm saying this and I'm saying it authoritatively. But the one of vigilante, it is a creation of the state law, because at a point they were not state actors, and there were other allegations of maybe organ trafficking or what have you, unconfirmed reports. Now so the state government,
the phone lines are open: 091-682-84994, 091-682-84994. You can call us Tell us where you're calling us from, make your contributions, or ask questions, if any. Go ahead.
So there were those unconfirmed reports that the states needed to do what? Because it looked like a makabating, or let me say, a sabbatical exercise. The state had to come in to say, we are going to make you a legitimate security architecture or security provider. They were in, mind you, they had been there even in the convoy of Governor Ojo Kano when you had the Bakassi. So that said, unless there is also a report that is saying the ghost workers, this administration has been talking about ghost workers.
Don't you think that the state, this explanation, because this vigilante, the Bakassi we know, this Homeland Security also, and then how possible? So you take them together. How is it that? How can a new government, the national administration, and coming? I would not see anything good in the past administration, because this is exactly what is playing out now.
Yes, I think I do not, because I think the whole Abian's explanation to all these things.
Yes,
and that is the question we must begin to ask. Yes, we are not saying you should not investigate past. But we are saying you must not be carried away to an extent it seems as if it is a witch hunt or a diversionary politics. Abia has a lot of infrastructural gaps. Abia has a lot of development needs. Abia has a lot of challenges that the administration can actually look into and see how it can fix. But that's it again, I think, yes, they owe us a reliable account, a report that will be in the public domain. And they can say, these and these names are the names we feel are ghost security service workers.
Yeah, but because by this report that is in the public domain,
yes,
it looks as if the entire Homeland Security Watch and the Bakassi, the Abia Vigilante, services, is like they are all fake.
But the question we should be asking is, are there the vigilante guys? We see them everywhere. Internal security.
Yes,
they are there. I know they are. I think they are usually assigned pump action rifle. They are not giving sophisticated ones like they.
No, just pump action.
And we see them, and they have uniform. They can be identified. You understand? And they also help in neighborhood watch. You understand? They also carry out a lot of security.
If you also take your mind back to how this Bakassi got started. They actually helped in sanitizing Aba at a point.
Yes,
in this state.
Yes, although it began spontaneously,
yes,
as a reaction to hooliganism that was actually trying to overwhelm Aba. The so-called mafia boys then, virtually every street corner was dominated by a particular clique, a cliquish gang that will not allow others to come there to visit their own people or whatever. Then in Ariari, something happened. I think a woman was actually killed or robbed. Then spontaneously, the Bakassi guys stood up and then tried to stand in the gap. Then at a point, they also became a state within the state that the Bakassi actually could go to police station, bring out a detained person, and then do their justice do justice to such a person as they like. That's it again. The concern grew. Then the state thought it wise to pass a law, a legislative instrument that will go up them into the state's security architecture as at the subnational level. We see them, we know them, and some of us can actually, if we want them to be here to come perform their duty here, they are paid. They come here. So I do not know. But the way our problem is the one of Homeland. And I say it here, it was a laudable initiative, and I celebrated it when it came. But at the point, it seemed that ministry lost track or lost the vision or the mandate. But then, I think others should also query. You see, our duty is not to accept anything coming from the government. We must also ask questions. How did you arrive at this?
Yes.
What led to this? What were the parameters? What were the indices? We must ask those questions.
All right, our wonderful viewers, that's the much we are going to take today. But before we go, let's have your final take on the issues discussed.
Thank you so much. My final take will be simple. I want to urge AU ECOWAS, South Africa Development Community, Arab Maghreb Union, all of them, East African Community, EAC, all these blocks, they should try to make the framework of their protocols be binding on member states, because I am aware in a polylateral system of relations the world is evolving towards, no nation can exist in a state of autarky. I have never heard that following election that was rigged, massive rigging, which we have seen happen everywhere, including in this country, that AU, even when it was OAU then anyway, or that AU, which actually tried to glorify democracy, that AU and these other regional laws I have mentioned suspended a member state. If you must suspend a military coup, which is also acceptable, you must also come to a point of telling a member state, we don't recognize your government because it is a nation of illegality. You rigged yourself to power. That was what people like Omar Bongo did, and then his son Ali Bongo was also at the verge of doing that, shutting down the internet space, restricting the press, you understand, intimidating opposition and the voters. AU must look inward and deepen democracy. Then, to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, yes, I will say this: ECOWAS has not even begun with exploring the avenues of peace. They've been only talking tough. Even as at the moment, they will tell you that, even as of yet, they are still saying military option is not ruled out of it. Yes, we know that military option is not ruled out of it, but the language of diplomacy will not even contemplate military option first. And when we say military option, let us also educate our listeners. When you say military, there are two things to it. It could either be peace enforcement or peacekeeping. Peacekeeping simply means minimal military operation targeted at what? Safeguarding human rights, protecting the vulnerable, creating safe passage for evacuation of war wounded, or the channel through which relief and care materials can get to people who are endangered. Then peace enforcement comes with fees, with force, and at a higher military cost, and it's not minimal, it's maximum operation. So we have to be careful what we are doing in Niger, you understand? Then for Gabon, the AU should. Are
you also aware that the Burkina Faso had sent out their military part of their military group to be with Niger Republic?
They didn't even stop short. In fact, they even supplied them to Camel jets, you understand? And then Nigeria, on her part, procured or entered into agreement to procure, or even procured 18 fighter war jets. And what does that mean? We are spending now, we are talking about palliatives. Now we are lamenting that the government needs to do more in terms of palliative. And I said here, if the local government councils were working, we wouldn't be talking about these palliatives in terms of handouts or food materials. Yet that government is procuring these things from USA and Turkey. You see where they are buying those things, USA and Turkey. The places where you have stable institutions working. Although Turkey is out of it anyway, there are some questions too. Erdogan has not been able, he at a point too, he also shut down WhatsApp. And I think, yes, at the point he also shut down WhatsApp in his own country, Turkey. So I think ECOWAS should begin to look inward, and the same goes for AU and other regional blocks. Then Tinubu himself must make sure that before he talks about war in Nigerian landscape, he must exhaust all diplomatic avenues open to him. All avenues of peace, including the one we call track 1.5 diplomacy and track 1 diplomacy. Thank you.
All right, our wonderful viewers, that's the much we're going to talk today. Thank you for being part of this program, and thank you for being there throughout the program. And I keep assuring you that Living TV will continue to make you happy, because your satisfaction is our business here, to ensure that you're satisfied 24/7 with other programs that will come your way even after now. Keep watching Living TV. And Comrade Nnamdi Lekwachi, we are pleased to have you today. Thank you for being part of
Thank you. It's always my pleasure. Thank you.
And this is your anchorman, Chinedum Adiele, signing off for now. Keep watching Living TV. Bye for now.
Thank you.